There's something so mysterious about the way we fall in love with music when we're young. Something slightly magical. Before we're told what is cool or even what belongs to us, before we know where we fit in the greater cultural puzzle, before we start grouping ourselves according to external factors, kids just love what they love. I suppose maybe we spend the first years of our lives falling in love and the rest of our lives trying to make sense of what it meant and why. Welcome to The Third Story. I'm Leo Sidran. For Stella Cole, it was The Wizard of Oz and The Great American Songbook, the sound of Judy Garland, Nat King Cole, Doris Day. She carried that obsession into adolescence. But by the time she was in college studying musical theater at Northwestern, she was told it wasn't practical. You'll never get on Broadway singing like that, they told her. And she nearly quit singing altogether. But then came COVID. She was sent home to Springfield, Illinois, where she grew up. And she found herself watching old movies again. This time she started filming herself singing her favorite childhood songs. A microphone, a smartphone, and a little bit of courage. Probably some boredom, too, were all it took to share her love of music with the world. She just stood plainly facing the camera, eventually with a special microphone that she bought, and she sang song after song. Millions of people responded. Here, for example, she sings the old chestnut, Get Happy, made famous by Judy Garland. Her version of it has been viewed over 3 million times on TikTok.
I have to be honest, nothing in the world brings me more joy than this song. Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. The Lord is waiting to take your hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. We're going to the promised land.
Sitting with Stella, what is immediately striking is just how down-to-earth she is and how fun she is. She's right in that space between becoming a famous singer and still being a young woman only a few years out of college for whom this whole experience carries a sense of wonder. She's sometimes described as a modernizer of the Great American Songbook, but the truth is her musical approach is actually quite vintage. What does feel modern is her willingness, her comfort in sharing her unvarnished personal life and journey with fans on social media, and in doing so, to connect with a younger audience. The songs themselves, the standards she grew up loving, she sings them straight, with sincerity and deference. And in a somewhat ironic twist, it was Stella who resisted including too many modern pop songs on her records, and her seasoned producer who encouraged her to lean into some more contemporary repertoire, like her cover of the Billie Eilish song My Future on her self-titled debut from 2024.
Can't seem to focus. You don't seem to notice I'm not here. I'm just a mirror. You check your complexion, find your reflections all alone. I had to go.
But in fact, it was her version of the Mancini-Mercer classic Moon River that was the most celebrated track on that album.
Moon River, wider than a mile. I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way.
Stella's new record, It's Magic, which is out on Decca now, is lush and sweeping, with string arrangements by Alan Broadbent and production by Matt Pearson. It's the kind of album you might have heard from Frank Sinatra or Doris Day in another era, except it belongs very much to Stella's moment. And for the first time, she says she feels a proud ownership of what she's made. The first single from the album, Till There Was You, came out this summer. It's a song that was written 75 years ago. That's just to say, it's not what you might think of as the first single off of a TikTok sensation's sophomore album.
There were bells on the hill, but I never heard them ringing. No, I never heard them at all.
We got together recently to cover the path, the yellow brick road, as it were, from Springfield to social media to global sensation. Conquering stage fright, her ambivalence about spending too much time online, her belief in storytelling through song, and the sense of gratitude that she carries for being able to do what she loves. For Stella, this record is about joy, comfort, and escapism. And for her listeners, it may just feel like
It's magic.
Third-story.com is the place to go to visit the archive. Hundreds of conversations like this one, including many with other singers who have spent plenty of time in the pages of the Great American Songbook, like Janice Siegel, Samara Joyce, Cyril Aimee, Laila Bialy, the singers in Duchess, Stacey Kent, Lauren Henderson, Roxana Ahmed, Kat Edmondson, Satchel Vasandani, Benny Benack III, Kurt Elling, Curtis Stigers, Andrew Bird, and Boz Scaggs, among others. In our interview, Stella talks about two of the more modern popular groups that she did like to listen to in college, Lawrence and Lake Street Dive. And guess what? You can find my interviews with Lawrence and Rachel Price of Lake Street Dive in the archive, too. I've also talked to her producer, Matt Pearson, a couple of times. So you may want to spend some time in the archive. Carve out an afternoon, maybe a weekend. And then come find me on Substack, leosidron.substack.com, for writings and episodes. And remember, we are made in partnership with WBGO Studios. Visit wbgo.org/studios for more of their award-winning content. Stella Cole begins a tour this week that will take her everywhere from Tyler, Texas to Nancy, France before year's end. Visit stellacole.net for all her dates. I myself have a few fun shows coming up, too. I'll be at Barbès in Brooklyn on Wednesday, September 17th, then in Spain, France, and the UK in late September, and again in November. Visit leosidron.com for all my dates. Here is me and the magical Stella Cole talking it down. Stella Cole, it is so fun to meet you right now. I wonder how you feel. I mean, your record is about to come out, so there's probably a sense of anticipation and that space of having made a thing and waiting for it to reach people, and sort of has reached people, but not totally.
Yes, a lot of anticipation. I think there's like a constant bit of nervousness in my stomach this month, just because I'm like, wow, you know, when you record a project and you set a release date, you know, August 22nd, it seems like that's never, it's like, that's not a real day. That's never going to come. Like, that's so far off, and it does come along. Luckily, it always comes along. And so, yeah, definitely nervousness, but also excitement for this one. The last couple of releases have been mostly anxiety, but this one has a good amount of excitement, actually.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You know, you're talking like somebody with some experience, even though it's happened relatively quickly, and you're still sort of a new artist in many ways, although in the space of a short amount of time you've put out an EP, an album, and another album.
It's an album, Christmas EP, another album now.
Right.
Yeah.
So you feel like a little more familiar with what this cycle means?
I think so. I think last time, you know, releasing my first full album, I was a bit unprepared. It was for the emotions of it, I think, for the marketing of it, for, you know, everything that comes along with an album, the vulnerability of putting it out there and realizing, oh, everyone actually can hear it now. I think my first album, that was my first time really being in a studio or working with an arranger or a band. It was just my first time doing everything. So I don't think I was as happy with the first project as I am with this one. And I'm sure I'll be infinitely happier with the next one, but I can't see that yet. But this time last year when I was putting out my first record, I was definitely anxious and thinking about all the things that I wish I would have done differently on the album and worried about the marketing. And I feel like right now, especially since there's like a much bigger team involved this time, I feel like a little bit of that is off of my plate, and I have help with the marketing and stuff, which is great. So I've actually been able to focus on the art, which is always the goal. And creatively, this project was like the most creatively fulfilling thing I've ever done. So I think there's a lot of joy and pride in that. I am proud of myself for kind of the first time for a project that I'm putting out.
That's a great thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
What made this one more creatively fulfilling?
I think I had done 2 projects already, which is not a lot of projects, but compared to 0, it's a lot. And I think I just had a better idea of what I wanted, and I was able to tell everyone what I wanted it to be. And I think my first projects, not even with just recording, with everything, with leading a band or, you know, setting up a gig or setting up a little mini tour when I used to do that on my own, I think it takes a while to be in these rooms or in these Zoom calls with like these big experienced kind of scary people who are like, I I know things,
Yeah.
or even if they're not saying they know things, like they do because they've done it a lot.
Sure.
And to come to terms with the fact that like, no, I do know things.
Yeah.
You know, those voices in my head, I should listen to that and say that out loud because, you know, it's at the end of the day, like it's my album, it's my show, like it has my name on it. And so when I have those gut feelings about what I want or what feels right, I was finally able to actually act on all of those. And it just felt much more right, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And in fact, I mean, I think as I reflect on your story, I think one of the big takeaways is that you ultimately just followed your own interests and shared them, and it worked and it resonated with people. If you had walked into a boardroom at 22 years old and said, I love the American Songbook, I love Judy Garland, I love musicals, I want you to invest in me, I want string arrangements, they probably would have been like, yeah, okay, whatever. But instead, you just had gone about sharing yourself, singing in a very informal way, using the tools of basically of your generation and the tools of communication that we all have. Yeah. And people liked it, which gives you a position of validation going into everything you do. You're here because you did a thing and people liked what you were doing.
That's true. I think it's put me in a unique position where I had the audience before I really had any art out there, if that makes sense. You know, I had these 30-second snippets of songs, but I had this audience who was waiting for me to put something out that was like legit and a real project. And, you know, I think to speak to the social media thing of it all, I think it's something that a lot of artists talk about, a lot of singers, musicians, you know, everybody feels like they're expected to be an influencer these days, which I'm not a fan of either. I mean, I don't like social media that much, to be perfectly honest. I'm very grateful for it. I would not be where I am, even 1% of where I am without social media. But I understand what I'm saying is that, you know, not all art is meant to be digested in a 30-second clip, and not all people who are wonderful artists and genius pianists or genius, you know, trumpet players know how to put that into something that social media is going to like. So I totally see that. But I think with the frustrations and the anxiety and everything that comes with social media, I think there's something to be said about the fact that, like, I grew up in Springfield, Illinois. I had never known anyone who had been a professional musician, professional actor, professional creative, really, of any kind that I can think of. And I was able to move to New York and meet people and send cold emails to producers and managers, and they paid attention because I had created this thing with social media. And like 30 years ago, that wouldn't have been a thing. I would have had to have some kind of connection already. So, you
know, you said without social media you wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
What about without COVID?
Yeah, I think also without COVID I wouldn't be here right now. It's a weird thing. I was lucky enough to be healthy, and my family was healthy and safe during COVID. And it was such a dark time in a lot of ways for the country and for the world. But for me, I think since I was lucky enough to have my health and a stable environment to be in, I think for me it provided, you know, this start to my career. It's strange. I talk about this a lot when I was in college. COVID happened when I was a junior in college. And
you were at Northwestern?
Yeah, Northwestern, Chicago. I was studying theater and international relations, minoring in German for some reason. I speak German sort of randomly. It only comes up about...
When you sing Edelweiss?
Edelweiss, Edelweiss, every morning you greet me, small and white, clean and bright, you look happy to meet me.
Anyway, I was in college, and I was studying musical theater, but I had quit singing by my sophomore year of college, or at least quit taking it seriously at all. I had always, from a very young age, loved the Great American Songbook, loved all these old songs. In high school, I had a sense that it was kind of weird that I liked this stuff, that no one else around me...
Did anyone like it? Did you have friends who were into it, kind of?
They were not into it, but I forced it upon them until they liked it. I'd be like, guys, come over, we're going to watch Meet Me in St. Louis. And they were like, what are you talking about? But they were great friends, so they did it. And my friend just knew that was like part of who I was and a big part of my identity.
Did you present that way also? Did you dress that way? Did you kind of play into it in your vibe?
That's a good question. I don't think so. Not at that point. I mean, I was just like a 13-year-old. I mean, now 13-year-olds are like dressing and having style, but back then I think I was just wearing sort of running shorts and a t-shirt to school every day. I don't think I thought to present in that way, but it definitely influenced like everything about what I liked and my tastes. And it was my big thing in middle school to be like, I don't like Justin Bieber. Like, I don't like pop music. I like jazz. So I definitely was like proud of it. And
was there a jazz band in the high school? Were there people playing jazz?
There was no one playing jazz. Okay. I don't think we even had a jazz band that I can remember. No, I think it was just like marching band and all of that. So I really didn't know anything about jazz. I just knew that I had grown up on these movies with this music that was called The Great American Songbook, and that I loved it. But anyway, what I was getting to is that in college, that was a big part of my identity still, of course, but it became sort of a big insecurity for me. When I got to college, I felt like everyone in the musical theater and theater program was like years ahead of me. They had all like been studying with these voice teachers from New York, and they had seen 40 Broadway shows, and like I'd been to New York like one time, and I had not really seen a lot of professional theater growing up. I just didn't know a lot of stuff they knew. So I sort of really shrunk into myself, I think, in college, and just tried to emulate what the people around me liked and what the people around me were doing out of insecurity. And so I really lost the part of myself. I probably only told my very best friends in college, like, yeah, actually, I sort of like don't love all this pop music so much that I'm singing. I actually like.
So where were you singing pop music? In the musical theater program?
Yeah, in the musical theater program, we were very encouraged to do like the pop singing and the high belting.
The contemporary musical theater
contemporary musical
sound.
theater canon, because that's like what was on Broadway at the time. It's funny because there's a lot of jazz influence on Broadway right now and in the last couple of years, but that wasn't happening quite yet. And so I had my teachers basically tell me that the Great American Songbook thing was not marketable. That was not going to get me on Broadway. That old school sound was like a character-y thing that like would maybe work if I wanted to play Judy Garland in the Judy Garland musical. And other than that, like, good luck. So I got really insecure. I almost completely tried to bury that part of myself most of the time, and really quit thinking of myself as a singer, quit singing. My voice lessons gave me a ton of anxiety. I would cry after every one of them and have to call my mom and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I was in a really dark place with singing before COVID happened. Yeah.
It's funny because I think from an outside perspective, when I think of musical theater, I would expect that you would have found a bunch of kids that were into Judy Garland and the American Songbook. And it is also interesting that you talk about the perception that it's an affect. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's all arguably an affect.
Yeah.
You know, every style of singing is a kind of...
It's all a style.
It's all a style. But that you were discouraged from pursuing it. And it also shows that maybe in a musical theater program like at Northwestern, they're trying to prepare you to work.
Yeah, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was an era where the sound was, as a woman singing, you had to belt as high as you could, and it had to sound like yelling in a nice way. And otherwise, if you weren't belting a high A flat, like nobody cared about what you were doing. And I think that isn't the healthiest for people's voices, number one. It doesn't always sound the best, but I think that's what everyone was into at the time. And it's not that no one had ever heard of Judy Garland in my program, or nobody cared about it. Like, people liked Anything Goes. People liked, jazz a little bit, but it just wasn't the focus in any way. And I think the dominance of the culture and the people who got the most attention from the program just did not sound anything like me. And I don't think I was singing like this 5 years ago. Like, my voice has developed a lot. I think when I was mentioning that I sort of shrunk into myself my freshman year, half of performing is about the confidence. And my confidence was totally shot basically like 6 months into getting there, just because it was such a new environment. I didn't adjust that well to college. So I can't completely blame the fact that I don't belt high and sing like a pop singer. I think that's a big part of it, because I always sounded a little bit how I sounded now, but my sound is definitely much more developed now than it was.
And so you weren't listening to Justin Bieber. Were you listening to any contemporary pop music that connected with you? In
college, yes, I was listening to pop music, but that connected with me, not as much. I remember listening to bands like Lawrence or Lake Street Dive in college, and I liked them, but it's funny, people always ask me about the connection to the Great American Songbook, and I honestly don't know why I love it so much and why it gives me the unique feeling that it does. But anything else that I listen to, really, contemporary or like just in different genres, it just doesn't touch me in the same way that listening to like Nat King Cole Sing a Standard just like touches something deep inside of me.
Right. And it sounds like it goes back to when you were a really little girl. Your parents showed you these movies and you just got obsessed with them.
I was obsessed. Yeah. I always tell the story of watching The Wizard of Oz for the first time, and I was 2 years old. I could like barely string sentences together. Yeah. I was just so small and I was immediately obsessed, and it became everything to me. I wanted to watch that movie every day. I memorized Mary Poppins. I just had an immediate obsession with it that I think like it was like some sort of calling or something. I don't know if I believe in all of that, but I think that's, looking back, that's sort of the way that it feels. Yeah.
I think that's real.
Yeah.
I think that's totally real. And it's beautiful when you are in touch with it or you're exposed to it at a time in your life when it can really make a difference. I mean, not everybody has those lightning bolt moments, and it sounds like, you got it.
Yeah.
And years later, through a series of very unexpected and unpredicted events, it led you to where you are today, to where I think you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So you get sent home from college because of COVID.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I often wondered during COVID, my daughter was like in third grade, and I thought, this is of all the ages, not a bad age. It's not high school. She's not missing out on high school or college. And to be enrolled in college, were you still enrolled, or did you drop out?
I dropped out for a quarter. We were on the court system, so I dropped out for like a third of the year because I was like, we're not paying for Zoom acting classes, surely.
I just thought that to be paying for college and be taking online courses from home, what a crazy thing.
Unreal. Yeah, I ended up finishing my degree half online, but the acting, I took almost no more acting classes because I just was like, come on, we're doing Zoom plays. Like it was just the most, that's what we did because that's what we could do. And we all missed it. But yeah, it was just not fulfilling in the same way. But yeah, I got sent home my junior year. Speaking of the sort of calling thing we were talking about, I had another experience that moves me always to look back on still, even though it was years ago now. I was sort of rediscovering all of these movies because I had been, tamping it down during college so I could seem cool and like I liked the same stuff everybody else liked. And I was looking for comfort at that time, and these are like the ultimate comfort movies for me. Singing in the Rain and Sound of Music and Mary Poppins and Meet Me in St. Louis, and they're comfort movies for a lot of people, I know. But that's what I was turning to for comfort while the world was maybe ending and there was a lot of darkness. And I was remembering like, oh, wow, these movies make me weep and cry. Like I love them so much I just can't stop crying. And I was driving around one day, and I put on a Terry Gross interview. I love Terry Gross. Listened to her interview a lot of different people. But I just happened to put on an interview with Doris Day. And they started playing a Doris Day song. I wish I remembered what song. But I just remember the song. I started, again, crying and had to pull over. Because I was just sort of having this moment of like, oh my God, I love this. And I don't feel this way about anything else. Like, I love this music and I miss it so much. And I can't, like, what have I been doing the last couple of years? Trying not to do this. I'm like getting choked up thinking about
I heard, so it's funny. Good friends of mine saw you in Montreal last month and just freaked out about the performance. I mean, they were sending me photos during the show and then afterwards. and I wrote to my friend this morning and I said, tell me what was most moving to you about it. And one of the things he said was she got so emotional talking about these movies. Like you got on stage and did this.
I do it all the time. It's ridiculous. I'm a very sensitive person. Like I used to hate it about myself, but I fully accepted it now. I think it's what makes me a good singer, honestly. I was just in Italy for 2 weeks for work, but I was in like the hills of Tuscany and just like kept being moved by the beauty of the sunflowers and just getting teary-eyed. Like I'm just very sensitive in all ways. But yeah, I think that's very nice of your friends in Montreal. And that's what I hear a lot. People after the concert will just say, wow, you clearly love this so much. And it's like infectious how much you love this. I'm obsessed. It's weird my tastes haven't changed since I was 2 years old, but they haven't.
Well, I mean, interestingly, when you eventually connected with Matt Pearson, who has been producing these records with you and working on your career and helping to develop this project, you started to find contemporary songs and put them in that context. That to me is almost a signature of Matt's. You did a Billie Eilish song, My Future, which first of all lays out like a jazz song. I mean, structurally it's not exactly like a standard, but it works for what you do.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good, really smart choice. I also know, though, that along the way you connected with Postmodern Jukebox, which I'm curious to know your feeling about, because they generally are doing something a little different, which is to take contemporary music and kind of place it in the musical language of classic jazz.
Yeah, yeah.
Best case scenario about that is that it opens the ears to a lot of people who maybe would never love the music that you love, but once they're like, oh, I know this Miley Cyrus song. So what was that like for you? Did it open your ears to pop music in a way?
That's a great question. You know, when you asked if I had contemporary singers who I liked, I didn't mention Billie Eilish, but I like Billie Eilish. I listen to Chappell Roan or like Sabrina Carpenter even while I'm running. I'm not a total jazz snob who will only listen to that. I listen to a lot of things. It just doesn't hit me in the same way. But I love Billie Eilish, and I'm a big fan of her and Phineas and their songwriting, and I think the production things they do, they're making a lot of really cool stuff, and Matt is the one who suggested My Future, and I
have no question of it. I
mean, of course. And I think it's a brilliant song, and I'm sure he'd be fine with me telling you that he has suggested many pop songs, and I have said no to many pop songs because I don't want to put a pop song on my record just to have a pop song on the record. Like, I'm not going to just sing a Taylor Swift song that I don't connect with at all just to be like, oh, and then it'll be accessible to people. I think the music is accessible enough, is my hope, and also what I've proven, I think, through social media. Like, even if it's a song like Polka Dots and Moonbeams that people have never heard before, like 5 million people watched my 45-second clip of that.
A country dance was being held in a garden. I felt a bump and heard an, oh, beg your pardon. Suddenly I see polka dots and moonbeams sparkle on a pug-nosed stream.
Some people, they like the standards too. So that's sort of my, I guess, holistic view. But when I find a contemporary song like My Future that I do truly love and connect to, of course I'll sing it. And I think the arrangement we did with Chico Pinheiro on the guitar was really cool. So I'm proud of that one. The Postmodern Jukebox thing, I was super excited to work with them because I had been watching their stuff since like middle school. They've been around for like a really long time. It's amazing how many cities they tour and how long they've kept up the sort of Postmodern Jukebox thing. And I toured with them for like 6 weeks a couple of years ago. And it was amazing to get the first experience on the road. We were doing like a tour bus, which is a bit more rare these days. So that was my first time being out for that long.
And where, like Eastern Europe? Where did they go all over the place?
No, they were all over the U.S., like just big performing arts centers. So Postmodern Jukebox was a really good experience. But to be honest, singing Flowers by Miley Cyrus, it's fun and people love it, and that's great, and I love that people love it. But I do not love singing that song as much because it just doesn't hit me in the same spot. I think you can see if you like watch the YouTube video of me singing that. Like, I'm having fun. I'm singing the tune.
I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, and I can hold my own hand. I can love me better than you can.
But if you watch a YouTube video of me singing like Over the Rainbow, like I just think there's a difference.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby.
There's so much in like a 32 bar form. They put so much story and so much to interpret.
Somewhere over skies are blue.
There's just so much to mine out of all of these songs.
And the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
I was thinking about that in the verse to The Boy Next Door. Mm-hmm. The last line of the verse is, I live at
5135 Kensington Avenue. Yeah, and he lives at 5133.
He doesn't know I exist, no matter how I may persist. So it's clear to see there's no hope for me, though I live at 5135 Kensington Avenue, and he lives at 5133.
It's so specific.
Yeah, it's so
I mean,
funny.
it's moving a story. I know why it's built to move a story forward, whatever. It was in the context of something larger, but like, what a specific detail for you, like 100 years later, to be singing or whatever it is.
It's so good. It always gets a laugh in concert,
Yeah.
usually, because I'm like, they're neighbors.
They're neighbors. Like, this is the proof that they're neighbors.
Yeah, there's their address, actually.
Yeah.
It's funny. I love little things like that in songs. It happens a lot in Cole Porter songs, too. Just these weird, specific things that don't really make any sense anymore, but
Yeah.
they're funny now in a modern context. Yeah, the Boy Next Door thing is ridiculous.
Well, okay, so part of the narrative that is sort of talked about with you is that you are modernizing the American songbook, which I have a question about, because I actually think what you're doing is very classic. It's the way you've messaged it that's very modern.
Yeah.
You use the same tools that people use to, like, share their skincare routines and dances, and I'm speaking from experience because I have a 14-year-old daughter, to do a different thing, to sing classic music. So in fact, it's pretty straight ahead what you did.
Yeah.
It's just that you proved that using those same tools, people are interested in this other thing.
Exactly. I think you put it perfectly. I think there's a big preoccupation in this style of music that you have to do something new, and you have to, if we're going to sing Misty, it has to be like a quick bossa now. Like, it has to be different. And I get that. And I think people do it well differently. Yeah. But the need that it needs to be different to be good, I just don't agree with. One of my favorite groups to go see in New York is my wonderful pianist, Michael Kanan, has his own trio, the same setup as a Nat King Cole trio. And they sound pretty similar to the Nat King Cole trio. They're playing standards and they're playing them beautifully. Really beautifully. Yeah. And it's like the most moving music for me to go see in New York. And like, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel there. And they're playing beautiful music. And I don't think I've ever been trying to reinvent the wheel. In fact, that was something we were talking about with the first record versus this one. The first record, I think, you know, as I was communicating with Matt and Alan, they're both like jazz guys. And
Alan Broadbent, who did the arrangements.
Alan Broadbent, yes, our wonderful genius string orchestrator, who I'm so lucky to work with. My goodness. They were very much of the mind, I think, of sort of trying to make it new and make it a little different. And
you're the one who's saying no.
I was like, no. Yeah, like, I don't want a big jazz guitar solo that's a minute long on The Boy Next Door. Like, I just don't want to do that.
But so then the question is, why listen to you and not this one of the great original versions of it that exists already?
I mean, I think my answer to that question is that Judy Garland didn't have TikTok, and neither did Ella Fitzgerald. And so that music is not being marketed in the same way to a new generation.
Yeah.
I think they are so much miles better than me at singing, of course. Greatest of all time. And my hope is really that people will discover this music through me and hopefully love the songs, want to delve deeper, and want to listen to the greats. If people listen to me and look up the song and find the Julie London version of the Chet Baker, and they want to go look that up, yes, please go listen to Nat King Cole's version.
I mean, I remember talking to Samara Joy a few years ago where she said people referred to Guess Who I Saw Today as a Samara Joy song.
Yeah.
Which really, I think, does help to remind us that there are a lot of people who have discovered you for whom these are your songs.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. People comment, There was a phase where people were commenting all the time on my social media, like, will you sing Misty by Samara Joy? And I was just like, wow. Yeah, I will sing Misty, but I have some news for you. Yeah, I think it's great, though. I mean, it's a similar situation with Leve. Like, I know she's been a controversial figure in the jazz scene because, like, oh, she's not jazz, whatever. And I understand she's like a pop singer who's maybe, used the jazz label. I get it. But I think, like, she has a whole stadium of 14 to 16-year-old girls, like, scatting along to, like, Chet Baker. Like, that's awesome. And I think that's a good thing for the music, in my opinion. And my goal is definitely similar, and just to introduce people to the songs because they're good songs. And I think this music has something different than a lot of the music that's out there in terms of like the comfort and the calm factor. And that's what I always really tried to emphasize and what I hope to bring people. And when I was first starting out during COVID with the videos online, that was the response that I got, that it was calming people down and making people take a deep breath. And like in this extreme chaos of our world, if I can help 20 people a day just like take a deep breath for 3 minutes, then
Success.
My goal will be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting that you say that, because it's sort of something that I wanted to get to with you is what is it about, like, looking now, you're not your 3-year-old self that loved it, because there are so many things to love about The Wizard of Oz that still hold up. But what do you think it is about that? That's a very specific worldview. It's full of, I mean, in many ways, it's a kind of simpler world. It's full of optimism in its way. It's also attached to a version of America life that doesn't really exist, that, it's kind of a fantasy. It was a fantasy then.
Yeah, exactly.
So many of the movies that you're talking about were made in the 30s when there was nothing in America. It was the Depression. And so these were escapist, opportunities for people to like dip away from the harshness of their life. I mean, maybe thinking in those terms, maybe this is a perfect time to return to that.
That's exactly what I always say. I think there's a reason this music got so popular when it did. It's because people needed it. And I think people need it now. I think that's why it's coming back. This sort of nostalgia for that time. And I think it does get dangerous when people think of it as a nostalgia for like America in the 40s, because that is nothing to be nostalgic about. Certainly.
It is so reminiscent of saying like, let's make it great again, or like, let's go back to a simpler time.
You asked me earlier if I ever, dressed in a vintage way. Like, I think that's why I really lean away from all of that, even like alluding to any of that, because I just find it weird when there's too much idealizing of the past. I think it's a dangerous thing to do. But yeah, I think it was popularized in a time that was incredibly difficult for American history. And that comfort factor in nostalgia isn't actually for the time when it was popularized. It's for this sort of like dream escape world, I think it's interesting that we decided to call the album It's Magic, because to me, magic is like alluding to this sort of escapism. Like, magic isn't really real necessarily. I mean, maybe in some way, depends on your interpretation of the word, but I think it's like, I decided that I wanted to make this album that was sort of light and joyful and about all of these love songs. At first I was thinking about putting some darker songs on there, or like even like Cry Me a River, like big belty stuff. And I found that I wasn't leaning toward that. Like, my heart wanted to make a record full of, when I listen to Frank Sinatra and Tommy Dorsey's work, like that music, those arrangements, they just feel like floating. They just feel easy, and you can listen to them at any time, and you're escaping a little bit. And that's what I wanted my record to be for people. I know there are a lot of people who are like, oh, to have a successful record these days, you have to like, every track has to be different. And I was like, no, I don't actually want to do that. That's not Matt saying that, by the way, or anyone on my team. I'm saying like in the larger music world.
Because we're in a singles world now, and we're in a playlist world.
It's like everything has to be different, and there has to be a 30-second catchy part of it that will go viral on TikTok. And I don't know, I think like I have gone viral on TikTok, and that's great, but that's not like the be all end all. I just wanted to provide 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it is on the record of just like calm and peace and joy and escapism, the same way like Nat King Cole would have made a record of just love ballads with strings. So I think not shying away from the
past. Think that there is, by the way, an aspect of magic, if you want to choose to see it that way in your story. The idea that you fell in love with a thing when you were a little kid and that there was this huge global crisis that led to somehow that thing that you love resonating with people your own age or younger, and then that you become one of the ambassadors of that thing globally. I mean, it's really wonderful. And that's magical.
That's magical. That's true. That's why I said, depending on your interpretation, because I certainly believe in, I don't know what I believe in, but I believe in some sort of magic in the universe. I don't know if I hesitate to even talk about this, but early in my career, which was only like 3 years ago.
I know.
Early in my days, 2.5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when it was still COVID times and I was having all these big dreams, I got very into the idea of manifestation. And I hesitate to talk about that because it can
How does
get
it work?
so
Tell me how it
woo-woo.
works.
Well, I think people misinterpret a lot, like the meaning of it. And are like, oh, if you just like close your eyes and wish really hard for $1 million, like the next
Squeeze
day,
your fists
all
together.
good. Yeah, and I think it's not that. I read last year a really interesting book on manifestation by this doctor of neuroscience. His name's James Doty, and he was talking about like the fact that if you focus on something all the time and you have a positive mindset and you do a lot of meditations on this thing and on this world, and you believe that like you can make your life this way. And also if your goals aren't just like, I want $1 million in a Porsche, and like if you're like trying to actually reach goals that have to do with like fulfillment or helping others, like that manifestation is real and it affects your brain chemistry, and your brain chemistry creates the
world
your
that you live in.
experience of life. And so say what you will about manifestation, but I made these vision boards like right before I moved to New York, or when I first moved to New York.
What's a vision board?
What's a vision board? Totally. A vision board for me is where I just collected all these different images, and I just made them digitally. I didn't print anything out, but I collected all these different images of like my dream life. One of them was like the stage at Birdland, and one was like Emmett's place, which is so funny looking back on.
Because you did do it, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Emmett's like a friend now. I'm like, that's funny that it was on my vision board.
Did you tell him?
No.
Don't tell him. He doesn't
He does not need the
that
ego
from
boost. Yeah, I'm not going to tell him. Don't worry. But like that was on because I was watching that before I lived in New York, and I was like, wow, the jazz scene. Yeah. And it was so weird. The Cotton Club in Japan was on my vision board, which I didn't even know what it was. I'm sure I just Googled like jazz club and that came up. And then I ended up performing at the Cotton Club this January, and I was like a little bit freaked out by that.
Because it was a realization.
It was on
of it.
and it wasn't anything I had even actively pursued like with my team. It just like
so that's where you go, oh my God, manifestation is real.
Exactly. I'm like, that's weird and a bit eerie. I do believe in some universal magic, I guess, in that way. But yeah, it's strange. Definitely, I think I consider myself extremely lucky every day that I, first of all, even found something I was passionate about. And then to go beyond that and be able to do it for my job every day, like it's unreal. I pinch myself all the time. I can't believe that it's real. It's pretty cool.
It sounds like there was a part of you that already had gone through much of your young life feeling like a little bit different, or a little bit like the things that you loved weren't. Now you're in a place where you do a thing, your job, you refer to this is what I do for my job. Yeah. There are very few. I mean, there are a lot of singers. New York is full of singers. Not so many that are signed to Decca, not so many that are touring globally, not so many that have the reach that you have. Yeah. I could see in one way it could be very isolating, or feel like, who are my peers? Who are my people? Who are, you're 26 years old living in the city. That's a certain kind of life, but your version of it is very unusual. Yeah. On the other hand, maybe you were preparing for it your whole life because you were sort of into different things anyway.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I've never thought about it in that way. I did feel different my whole life, but I had this core group of friends always from like the second grade until the end of high school that I grew up with. There were 6 of us, and they're still some of my best friends to this day. And so I always had that community in that place where I fit in. And I think going to college, I found great friends, but I felt a little bit different, and like I was trying to fit in. And I actually, funnily enough, felt the same way when I first moved to New York. Like it was so great to have the jazz scene as this community, but I felt once again embarrassed of my taste and like, oh no, like I don't scat and I don't want to, you know what I mean?
For sure, within the word jazz and the
Yeah.
jazz community, it's a very wide range of things that you could be talking about.
Exactly. I was not sounding like the other people at the jam sessions, and I was like, maybe I'm not even good at this, you know, because I'm doing different. I have different abilities than the amazing abilities that a lot of people have in the scene, and I think to answer your question right now about the, I guess, isolating or being different thing of it all, I think I've found such incredible support from my parents and my little brother. I'm incredibly close to them. I talk to them every day. They've always been the most wonderfully supportive. I love them so much. And that helps. And I think my band, my touring band, is like family now. And Michael Kanan, who I mentioned, just feels like family, one of my best friends. Same with Mikey Migliori, my bass player, and Hank Allen Barfield is my drummer, and they're just the best guys. You hear of so many horror stories of drama on the road and stuff, and we just never had any of that. We just good people and people I feel so comfortable with. I think I do have some anxieties though about, you know, the way people perceive me, I guess, like if they've already known me on social media before, or they've seen my videos, or like they know that I'm like signed to Decca, or that all does give me some sort of social anxiety, I think, more than I ever had before. But to be honest, I think a lot of the time I just pretend that none of that even feels very real. Does that make sense?
I mean, if you find yourself in a situation surrounded by people more or less your age, friend of a friend, whatever, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Like, I mean, what, and if they don't know who you are or what you do, if they don't follow you on TikTok, if they haven't, you know, like, at what point does it even come up?
Yeah. I usually don't bring it up at all.
Yeah.
I just say I'm a singer. And I mean, lately it's harder to, like, I don't know. People figure out eventually as they become friends with me, of course. Like, a lot of the times when it'll come up is, you know, these days, instead of being like, oh, what's your number? People are like, oh, what's your Instagram?
I
and
heard
that's
about
always, people are always like, oh, what? Like, because they see I have like, you know, 800,000 followers or whatever. And I've just been like, oh yeah, I'm a singer. And I don't know. I think my worst nightmare would be to become someone who goes around like parading any success they've had or anything. I was raised in the Midwest. Like, humility is number one always. And I'm very grateful for the way I was raised. I actually have this app on my phone called Opal that like blocks off social media most of the day. So I usually say to people like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, my social media is blocked off of my phone right now. Like, what's your number? Just because it's weird. I don't know. Yeah. It creates like this thing, especially in the age of like people our age, social media, and like it's the following thing matters so much. And it's like, I don't know. It just creates a weird thing, I guess.
When you have reached the place where you've reached, I mean, I'm sure it's kind of demystified, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I guess I'm just used to it. But I mean, it is a cool thing when, you know, meeting new people and making new friends and stuff, and people who have, you know, an office job or whatever, like they think my life is so cool and exciting, and that's nice because it does, being around musicians all the time and like the main people I hang out with being like my band or like my best friends from home or other musicians, like you do forget like, oh my, this is crazy.
This
like
is a big
this
deal.
is insane. This is a big deal. Not even like any of the followers or the touring. Just like, I'm a professional musician. What the hell? Like that's unreal.
That is unreal.
It's the dream.
What do your friends, your 6 friends, make of this? And what do your parents make of this?
My parents, my 6 friends. Yeah, my friends from growing up.
Or your 5 friends?
No, I just thought it was funny to say my 6 friends because I'm always joking about how I'm like one of those people who just needs like 5 or 6 friends. Like, that's it. That's enough for me. So that just made me laugh. My friends couldn't be prouder. The 2 friends I've kept in touch with the most, one is a data scientist at Northwestern actually, and one is a doctor. She's in a residency right now. And they love to brag about me to all of their friends. It's very sweet. They're like my biggest fans and supporters, and they're always just so like, we knew you could do it from seeing you in plays in high school. They're lovely and the best. And I think my parents they're so happy for me, but I think they have a hard time like adjusting, I guess. My parents, for context, both grew up in towns of like 1,000 to 1,500 people in rural Illinois. My grandpa on my mom's side is a farmer. My dad's parents own this like little antique store in Shelbyville, Illinois. So
what do your parents do?
My dad also owns his own business. He sells bicycles, and my mom is a lobbyist for the Illinois government. So
because Springfield is the capital of...
Yeah.
I always thought that the Simpsons Springfield was just a random Springfield.
yeah.
But I didn't know that there's also a Shelbyville, Illinois.
Yeah, right? It's
So
weird.
it actually, maybe it is
I think
about Springfield,
People
Illinois.
voted and they said it's not about Springfield, but I feel like it is about Springfield, Illinois. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a much debated topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, my parents came from just like a different world. They never traveled when they were growing up. They'd never been to New York, let alone like Europe. And now
Yeah.
I'm in Europe like 3 months of the year. There,
Yeah.
last fall, my parents came with me to Tuscany. I've hosted a couple of jazz retreats in Tuscany where my fans sort of pay to sort of go on vacation with me, and I sing to them every night. It's like this 5-day thing, and it's an odd experience every time in a way, because it's like all these people who know me and I don't know them, but it always ends up being really, really fun and lovely. But my parents came on the first one and they just did not know what to do with it at all. They were like, this is weird and this is strange. And like,
These people have paid to go on vacation
yes,
because you're there.
yes. And they're like, what is going on? Like, they ended up having a lot of fun because all everybody wanted to talk about was like little stories of my life. And like, my parents love to talk about me, but they were very much like, where are we? We're in this villa in Tuscany. Like, it was my parents' second time going to Europe. I think the first time was they came to Norway to see me do a show. So they were just like overwhelmed. I think they're overwhelmed by it all, but
That is
definitely
overwhelming.
proud.
But
yeah.
what does that even do to you and your sense of self-importance or like staying rooted when there are people that basically are traveling to just get close to you?
Yeah. I think again, like I'm so lucky to have the Midwestern,
Yeah.
like I'm just so my on my dad's side, they're like Missouri-sided Lutherans. And I was not raised that way, but
Yeah.
it's like the vibe of the culture in there is like, if you are making money, you never tell anyone.
Yes.
Like if you are successful,
Yes.
you better not talk about it. Like,
Yes.
so I feel like I still have so much of that in me. Like,
Yes.
even when I like signed my first major label deal, I was like, this is awesome. But like, I don't ever think of myself as like when I'm, like you mentioned, being around, there's so many other singers and so many other musicians. When I'm at a like jam session or the few times lately I've been out in New York, I'm like, oh my God, they're all better than me. Like, this is awesome. They're amazing. Like, I really don't have a high opinion of myself. Sometimes my opinion of myself is probably too low, actually. But yeah, I think I'm lucky to not have any sort of ego.
Do you
thanks to my
think
parents?
Do you think that thing about low opinion of yourself, like, I mean, I started to hear you say, which is really true, and in a way probably helpful. What you do is so different from the majority of the jazz singers that are out there.
Yeah.
That when you have to try to make sense of your success, maybe it's helpful to think, yeah, what I do is different, and that's why
Yeah.
like some of this is coming to me, because you're pretty alone in the lane. Not totally alone, but
Yeah.
like there are much far fewer people doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
it's
like maybe
different.
that's a helpful way of just saying, yeah, I deserve this.
I think that's how, I don't know if rationalize it is the word, but I think that's how I make it make sense, is like, the people who are close to me hate when I talk like this. But to be honest, the way that I think of myself and my own talent is like, oh, I'm not particularly talented or good at singing or a good musician or anything. I think I'm just a good storyteller. And I read Barbra Streisand's humongous autobiography, and that's the same way she talks about herself, which was very validating. I'm not nowhere close to Barbra Streisand, obviously, but she was like, yeah, I was a failed actor, so I just like became a singer, but like I don't know what I'm doing. And that's how I feel all the time. Like, I thought I was going to be an actor and I love this music, but I never dreamed of being a recording artist. It all feels like it's sort of, I mean, it didn't just happen to me. I worked really hard and specifically tried to make it happen. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, the way I think of myself and my own artistry, there isn't any ego in it, because I think what I'm good at is like connecting to people, and I have some sort of, I guess people have told me, like some sort of charisma or something that has set me apart on the internet somehow. But it's weird. It's weird how the internet, the viral success like happens to some people and doesn't happen for others for kind of, it seems, no reason. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I am curious about that. And I don't have TikTok. I found a bunch of your TikTok videos in preparation for this to see what do these videos look like that people are like getting into and what are you doing? And there's a few things that come up for me. One is knowing that you went through a period of kind of stage fright or stage discomfort. You seem, I mean, maybe because at the end of the day, it's just you and your phone. You seem comfortable early on doing that thing and performing almost like you're performing in your mirror or something, right?
Exactly. I think it felt like a different thing altogether. I had so much anxiety in college about like auditioning and going in and singing a song for the panel, whatever. But singing alone in my room, especially before anyone was really seeing the videos, when everything was getting 12 views, it was like, who cares? It just felt like it felt honestly like a little game I was just sort of playing with myself. My dad was always watching, like, oh man, you got 50 views, like awesome. Like it just felt like this little thing my family was doing during COVID, you know. At first it didn't feel like I don't know, I was comfortable, and showing up for myself every day and posting little videos every day was like a little vote of confidence every day or every week that like, oh, I was enjoying this and trying to get comfortable singing in front of the camera, and I was doing it. And I think that was like, that had a huge impact before they even started, you know, blowing up. In
a way, being a steady, consistent social media poster creator is like having a practice.
Yeah.
You know, it's like doing morning pages or meditating or exercising or anything, which is so crazy because it's also tied up in so much negativity and, you know, and you're feeding this beast and you're empowering these companies and all this stuff. Yeah. But in terms of you waking up and saying, today I'm going to make a thing and that's part of my daily practice is actually like a very constructive way of looking at it.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think I looked at it that way, especially during COVID. Most of the videos, you know, TikTok, it was early days of that app. And most of the videos on my For You page or whatever were other singers and other musicians. And it felt like finding this community. And today I think, I mean, I have a lot of feelings about social media. It's a very complicated thing, like you said, and it's not always the best for my mental health. Sometimes I would like to throw my phone into the ocean. And
are you still very sensitive to like what connected this video? Why didn't they like this one?
I think it's more like, I think social media is this thing where you're never satisfied, and no matter how many hundreds of thousands or millions of views you're getting, like, you're already thinking about the next video and how to keep people's attention, and like in a way that's nothing new. I mean, that's always been how the music industry has worked, like on a broader scale. Like half of it is marketing, you know, but for an artist to be so directly involved with their marketing, and especially like the way that the social media algorithms have learned to completely take over our brain, it's gotten more addicting, I think. I have a lot of trouble, honestly, like posting on TikTok and then not like scrolling for 40 minutes afterward, because it's just like, it's so addictive. So I've really had to
that's why you have that app.
Exactly. That's why I have Opal. Shout out to Opal. Yeah, I feel like I've had to keep re-examining my relationship with social media, and having a team to help me with Decca has helped.
I was going to ask you about that, because I talk about this as developing your language, your like communication language.
Yeah.
You find your style. You figure out what your visual language is. I don't even really know what to make of it. You make a record, you know, huge photo shoot for the cover, videos and strings, and you walking on stage in gowns, and yet I could see you sick in bed with a cold.
Yeah.
Also. Yeah. And that's also part of the brand. You know?
Exactly.
I don't even really know how to square those two things, that one of them leads to the other. You being like, no makeup, just came back from a run, I just want to sing this thing for you. Leads to you walk on stage in a full face of makeup and gown and band and this elegant thing, that those are both parts of the same career.
Right?
And
it's
that
bizarre.
one supports the other one. But I guess the point is, like, as you have your team now and a bunch of people who are really good at one of those things, how do you feel about letting them take over the other thing? Like take over the TikToks and the videos? And
such a good question, and something that's been very much on my mind in the last couple of months as I start working with the label and working with a bigger team. First of all, to speak to your thing of like the two sides of, it's interesting because when they were first marketing this music or marketing these movies, you know, there so much was like these big Hollywood studios like protecting Marilyn Monroe's image and setting things up with Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, and it was like you would never see Lauren Bacall without make a full face. Like she was a glamour. She was the epitome of that, and that image had to stick. And it's interesting because I don't think that works as well in the modern age of social media. You have to have that glamour because that's sort of what I want my image to be, but I think what people connect with these days is wanting to see the person. And especially for me, since people have been following along since I was just like a college student in my parents' house singing songs in my kitchen, like following that journey and seeing like aspects of that vulnerability, I do think is interesting to people, which again, isn't new. People have been reading about celebrities' love lives and People magazine and wanting to think of them as a person forever. Not calling myself a celebrity, but
definitely a person.
You're definitely a person, but that aspect of it. Anyway, so I think that's an interesting point. But in terms of incorporating the
team into
it's been interesting. I mean, I think I have all of these things that I've learned that work from like my own social media. But it's hard to say how much of those things are sort of colored with like my insecurity or like not wanting to post too much because I don't want to annoy people, or like not wanting to post like really many talking videos or videos of me in my day-to-day life because I'm like, well, that's boring. Nobody wants to see that. And it's interesting and been pretty helpful to have an outside perspective of like, no, actually people do want to see like just a day in your life, like what that's like, kind of what we were just speaking to.
Or people going on vacation with you just wanting to be near you.
yeah, I guess so. So I think what the goal has been in the last few months is to kind of diversify the content a little bit, because for a long time, you know, talking about the numbers and the constant roller coaster of that, what performs best for me is singing videos with the microphone close up on my face. Like that's what will go viral. And to take away the, I have to go viral all the time, and start trying to like show people who I am a little bit more, both as an artist and a person, and like connect on a deeper level with the audience, as well as doing the singing videos and everything, if that makes sense. But it's hard to give up the control for sure. I have worked with a couple of different like social media managers, and I always really struggle with this team. It's the first time it's been a bit easier, but
I mean, I could see on both from a creative standpoint and also from a control standpoint, just from the creativity standpoint, it's like, I have strong feelings about what this is. I've made so many of them. And then also from a control standpoint, and that's what got us here.
Exactly.
So, you know, whoever you're going to delegate it to, you have to really trust that they are going to represent you at least as well as you represent yourself.
Exactly. I think it's like wishing I could do it all myself all the time, but also I have like an insane tour schedule and also need to like be a human person sometimes and not just focused on TikTok every day. So I think the reality that like someone is going to have to help me with this. And I will say, like, you know, say what you will about major record labels. I completely understand all the discourse that happens around that, but I think Decca specifically, from what I've seen so far, has been really wonderful in not focusing on like every song has to go viral because they work with so many classical musicians. You know, they're not used to trying to get something to 10 million streams. They're like, this is good music. And it's been helpful so far to just have their resources that they've put behind me in terms of like creating content. Like I never had a fund of money to like make a lyric video or make Q&As for social media, and they have this whole like in-house video team, and that has been a huge level up, I guess, which has been the most helpful part social media wise.
Well, it's true. You're in a label where you, even though you're making music that isn't quote unquote pop music of today, you're the pop artist among
it's pretty funny. Yeah, exactly.
So that's a good place for you. That's a good space for you to be.
Yeah, I was always hesitant about the big label things. It's always made me nervous just because of, I think rightly so. But yeah, the Decca team has been, and I've heard great things from people who have been working with them for a couple of years. So
you bought what I'm assuming is a blue microphone, a baby blue bottle. Is that what it is? Or
this is a great story that I actually never tell. I bought a blue baby bottle of microphone off of eBay. I had never really worked that much in college. I was always doing like 7 extracurricular activities,
Yeah.
and I had like a job, but I had never made a great amount of money at all in college. I was always really focused on school. And so I didn't really have like any money saved up, not enough to like buy a nice microphone. And so it was such a big deal being like, I'm going to invest in this,
Right.
like, I don't know what, like
600? What is it?
500, 400
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. Invest in this microphone. And I like didn't have the money. So I would go on TikTok and like do these live stream concerts that I was already doing every Sunday. And I was like raising money for my microphone fund. And people would just Venmo me from TikTok, like $20 or like $40, $100. It was the weirdest thing because, and so I bought my microphone with the fund. And it was so weird because I often say like at the beginning of all the social media thing, it didn't even feel real. It felt like a game in my phone.
Yeah.
And it did not feel like 100,000 people or 1 million people were perceiving me.
And there
Because
were 1 million at that? It went there that quickly?
in COVID, my first one of my videos got 1 million views. But like nothing about my life was changing at all. It was just me and my parents and my dog and my brother
Looking at the phone.
and all these notifications, but it didn't feel real. But then when people were giving me money, I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And later on, when we were fundraising for my first album, I fundraised for that. I was so embarrassed to post a GoFundMe and like try to ask people for money. Again, the Midwestern thing, I think. I just was like, this is humiliating. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do this. But I posted one video and like we raised like
Yeah.
30K in like a
God.
weekend or something. It was
And were you already working with Matt at that point?
yeah. It was unreal. I just was like crying of gratitude. I just couldn't believe that all of these people, it just feels like numbers. Like it just felt like numbers on my phone, and to be like, these are people who actually want to hear my music.
This
like,
is real.
wow. Yeah.
So one of the first things you did is you crowdfunded this microphone, or not even, you just
Yes.
took donations for the microphone.
Yeah.
Now, if people had all paid $20 to see you play a concert, that
Yeah.
would be a completely reasonable thing to ask them to do.
Absolutely,
It seems
yeah.
a little more like remarkable that they gave you money for the microphone,
Yeah.
but they supported it one way or the
Yeah.
other. And now this has become part of your brand. I'm really surprised. I don't see it hashtagged.
Which
Blue
baby
microphones.
Yeah, you're right. I totally should. I should be trying to like work with them in some way. Yeah, people
You're
ask me
giving
what
them
it is.
so much
Yeah.
free promotion.
I actually have. They should give me a free microphone. Actually, I'll call
They
it
make
Blue.
better
Yeah.
microphones than the one that you
They
have.
definitely do. Yeah, mine is so beat up as well. I've carried it all around the world to like make videos in my hotel rooms on tour and stuff.
Is it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I ask myself, is it plugged into anything?
Yeah,
It
is.
always is.
Always
That's always
is.
what.
Well, actually, no. For like 4 videos around Christmas time last year, it was not plugged into anything because my little interface
Yeah.
broke in my suitcase, but I had to film these Christmas videos. I was in Monaco, I think. My band, I remember,
Yeah.
was like swimming in this beautiful pool at the hotel, and I was like, "Sorry guys, I have to film.
Yeah.
I have to film these videos."
Yeah.
And I was so frustrated because my microphone was broken, but I was like, I already have my makeup on. I'm just going to do it. And I just hoped for the best, that no one would realize. They didn't sound as good, but they did fine.
But
yeah.
everywhere else, like sitting in the Cafe Carlo, whatever, like there's these videos of you all over the place, always with the microphone, became part of the brand as I'm
Yeah.
holding my microphone and
Yes.
singing this thing.
Exactly. I think, I mean, I am so not a sound techie person. I use GarageBand
Yeah.
and like iMovie. Like
Yeah.
it's really not high tech. My friends who also make videos laugh at me because I'm just still living in like, I don't know, I don't do anything too complicated. But yeah, it has become a part of the brand. I've done some the Cafe Carlisle thing was, I guess, a lip sync
Right.
to just the track. But other than
But
that,
then holding, that's another thing that I see. You know, when you're promoting a song, you'll hit that song 3, 4, 5 different ways in
Yeah.
different contexts. Sometimes you're singing it live, sometimes you're lip syncing, sometimes you're.
yeah.
You seem very committed to it, like in the sense that like you seem very comfortable in all that. But that's a big question for me. Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of go all in.
I think the self-promotion is incredibly embarrassing, but I don't think there's really a choice
Yeah.
for me or
Yeah.
for anyone in this era.
Yeah.
If you want to sell records and show people your music, like
Yeah.
I think the cringe aspect is definitely there, and I feel it a lot. And I think I just have to keep hanging on to the fact that other people are not. I'm sure some
Yeah.
people are cringing. I'm sure
Yeah.
people make fun of me. Oh well, but the people that I'm reaching
Yeah.
and who don't know this music, that's what I always have to think of.
Yeah.
Like, I am helping this music reach a new audience. I am calming some people down. They
Yes.
tell me, like, so I
Yes.
want people to know I have a new song out.
Yes.
There's no other way to do it. Yeah. It's funny because, like, Chapel Roan is doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the most famous pop stars in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if their labels are telling them to do it or what it is,
Yeah.
but Sabrina Carpenter is up there. All these K-pop stars are like lip syncing to their songs on TikTok. It's
Yeah.
unreal that
Yeah.
like that's the ultimate like pinnacle of marketing now.
Right.
It's
Lip sync to your own song
sort
on
of
TikTok.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Now you on stage again.
Yeah.
It sounds like your relationship with the stage was complicated.
Yes, for sure.
Then you found TikTok success. Mm-hmm. And then you went back on stage. Now you have your band, so often when you walk on stage, you're cradled by
Yeah.
your people.
Yes.
But just in general, tell me about the return to the stage and how you feel about it now.
Well, it's interesting because I was on the stage in like a theater context or musical theater context growing up, never professionally, just
Yeah.
community theater and stuff, and in college. And I had never played with a jazz trio before I moved to New York and played my first gig at a Italian restaurant very near here. Do you know Giovanni's Brooklyn Eats? I think
Where is
it's
it?
in like
Yeah.
near Park Slope. Like
Yeah,
near
that's where we
here,
are. Yeah.
I think it's in Park. I'll show you on
Okay.
a map after
Okay.
this over. Sorry to derail the conversation, but that was my first ever gig in New York. He has jazz musicians every weekend and singers, and I had never. Yeah, that was my first time playing with the jazz trio. I was not on stage. I was standing in a restaurant.
So you, I guess we should say you graduated, finished your senior year
and
in
moved
person,
and moved to New York.
and then
Yeah.
moved to New York.
Yeah.
But you had this like power, little superpower
Yeah, yes.
that you were moving here with.
Yes.
You had a huge TikTok following.
Yeah, it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing that was like making me any money or like a job.
Yeah.
Yet it still doesn't. The social media of it all doesn't really make me any money, but
But so
it
you-
hadn't translated into
it
like
hadn't
a
translated.
real world thing. Yeah.
So it's like that you have this asset, this value, and
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, you're just out of college. You're moving here to kind of try to make it as a singer.
Yeah. Basically, I had no idea what I was doing in any way. And I moved here not knowing anyone except a couple of peers from college. And I started emailing and Instagram DMing venues and musicians, again with the cringe thing. Like, that's embarrassing looking back on it a little bit, but it's what I had to do. And
Can I ask you, would you share any of the venues or musicians that you DM'd?
I mean, so the musicians I DM'd were honestly mostly like guys my age.
Yeah.
Joe Block. Do you know him? Yeah, great pianist. Guys my age. I started to get to know like a lot of the Juilliard
Yeah.
musicians in my class. That's just like
Yeah.
the community that I sort of fell into. Two of the guys who I DM'd are still some of my best friends today. But the venues, it wasn't any big venues. I wasn't reaching too high.
Yeah.
I was just like little jazz venues, like clubs that are like places like the Django. Like
Yep,
it's
sure.
sort of a venue, but also a bar mostly. I was DMing on Instagram like any hotel
Yep.
with a piano in the lobby,
Yep.
being like, hey, ever thought about using
Yeah.
that piano? And the first person to answer me was Giovanni at Giovanni's Brooklyn Eats. And that was my first gig. And I was toting around this giant amp on my back. I had a little backpack for it and wearing my little gowns and my heels, super overdressed for restaurant gigs. And
And who'd you hire?
at that time, he was hiring the band for me because I didn't know any musicians. I knew like one pianist
Did you have
in
a
New
book?
York.
Did you have charts?
I didn't have any charts. I had iReal Pro and a Dream. I knew like 20 songs that I knew, and I knew my keys, and so I would just like send that list to people, and they'd figure it out. And from there, like I started meeting more musicians, and suddenly all my friends are musicians, and I was out till 4 a.m. at Smalls every night and getting to know everybody. And so, it progressed from
dream.
from
Living the
there.
dream, yeah.
Exactly. So it progressed from there. But yeah, it's so funny looking back. It was a struggle, honestly. But I was just thrilled to be making any money at all, doing anything close to singing at all.
Yeah.
I just had no idea how to start. So I just started emailing people, I guess. Yeah.
I like hearing success stories,
Yeah.
like I like hearing when people dream for something and it comes true. I also think your journey, and I think this is probably more true than it is not true, doesn't follow the standard path,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think is really positive. because it shows that there's really no one way to get there.
Yeah.
It's also very concerning that we have to learn how to use social media in order to, and like it happened for you very naturally.
Yeah.
I think somebody else who heard your story, who's told themselves, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to get famous on TikTok, could just as easily struggle and fail at trying to do the same thing.
I mean, I struggle with TikTok these days. The app has become harder and weirder, and everybody's trying to be an influencer.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to put their music on TikTok. It wasn't so saturated when I started out. I struggle with social media still. No, I think my path isn't straightforward at all, and that's why I think, when you're asking me, like, how do you deal with it on a day-to-day? Like, I don't even think I do deal with it. I think I'm just like, oh, cool, this is life. Now I get, like, I don't think I've processed a lot of it still, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that I'm so grateful all the time, and I'm not just saying that. I genuinely am, like, overwhelmed with it all the time. But yeah, other than that.
Do you see a way of outgrowing it, though? Like, as the stages get bigger, as your team steps forward, as your career looks more like the kind of career, as you say, you're on tour, you can't be making videos all day long. Like, at a certain point, is it possible to say, I really won't need this in the same way?
Oh, gosh, I hope so. That would be awesome. And again, I don't like to, like, publicly be, like, negative about social media because it's given me so much, and I understand, like, the hypocrisy in that. But I that's sort of the dream for me, is to get to a place where I don't have to be thinking about TikTok all the time. But like I said, the fact that Chapel Roan is making TikToks and Leve is making TikToks, I think it's sort of the way to, like, try to build an empire these days in any business, not just music. Like, people in literally every facet that I can think of. Like, authors are supposed to have a TikTok account now. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. How are you supposed to even know anything about an author in a 30-second clip? But it seems to be the direction the world is heading, and I think I know I worked hard in all of that, but I think a lot of it is luck still.
I think maybe luck, but also understanding the format and the idiom.
Yeah.
I think one of the other shifts in it is not thinking of it as a tool to promote something else, but rather thinking of it as the thing itself.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to buy my song, but I also want you to interact with this video and like this video and like me in this video.
Yeah. I think we'll see where it goes. Like, do I think TikTok is a good thing for society as a whole? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Has it changed my life in a lot of positive ways? Yes. I try to hold all of that at the same time. But, I mean, if you ask my parents what I think of social media, they'd be like, she wishes it was done forever. Yeah. Like, if you ask the people really close to me, like, to be honest, it gives me a great amount of stress to this day. I'm not even sure that's necessary, but that just because for the last 3 years, like, when your success has been because of this app, then the app starts to matter a whole lot more than it should. Yeah.
An outsized amount. And on the other hand, for you to say that, you think it shouldn't exist is sort of like running across a bridge and hoping that it collapses behind you.
Exactly.
I want it to carry me across this river.
No, it's like, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why this is really like the first interview where I've ever been honest a little bit about the way that I am unsure of its, like, broader impact on me as a human and me as, like,
well, right. So this is where we were talking about the stage and how because on stage there's no TikTok of it all. Totally. On stage it's you and the audience and the music and your musicians. You started Giovanni's. That's how we got there. So you started to develop a relationship with the stage and the audiences. Yeah. And did you find that you felt empowered because you had this audience and you had this, like, kind of secret power that you knew you had? Or
I think I'm trying to think back to how it really felt at the beginning. I know that now live performance is my absolute favorite, and I love it so much. It's everything to me. I prefer it so much more to singing to my phone. Now it feels crazy to sing to my phone because it's not an exchange of energies. I love performing. I love talking to people during the show, after the show. I think actually while I'm being honest about my insecurities, I think at the beginning I had this feeling of like, oh gosh, I have all these TikTok followers, but like I'm such a beginner at singing with a jazz trio. Like I literally have no idea what I'm doing.
Yes.
And going to all these jam sessions with like my Juilliard musician friends and seeing the Juilliard singers just like scat all this improvisation and just being like, oh, I am so intimidated and this is crazy. Like, it was just this whole new world to me. And it made me feel at times, I think, like, oh, maybe I don't deserve all the online following, or maybe like it cheapens actually my musicality. Like, I'm just like this marketable thing, but like, this is real music, you know, all thoughts like that and questions like that I still think about. But I think at the beginning, the TikTok and the following gave me like a boost of confidence and a leg up when venues wanted to book me, because it was amazing. I was singing at these like steak restaurants in Midtown, and people were coming from the UK to come see me. Like, some guy came from, like, I can't remember, somewhere in the Middle East. Like, people were flying across the...
Because you would communicate, I'm playing here, and they would come.
Yeah, on my Instagram story or something, and people would show up, and I'd be so embarrassed because I was like, this is a background music gig. Everybody's eating their steak and talking, but they didn't care. They just wanted to come see me sing and say they saw me in this small room, whatever. And it was just, again, a theme. It all seemed unreal, still does.
It's magic.
It's magic, yeah. The TikTok thing gave me confidence in that way, and was really cool that I was able to fill a venue of these. Again, they were becoming real, the people. Yes. It wasn't just these numbers. But there was also some insecurity tied up with it, as there often is with me and with artists in general.
Definitely. You said this thing about storytelling earlier, and there are different ways to approach singing and playing standard songs, whatever. Yeah. Sonny Rollins famously talked about, and other musicians have also talked about, knowing the lyrics when they play instrumental songs to connect with the melody. Other musicians say, well, I don't know what that means. What does me knowing the lyrics have anything to do with the way I'm going to play the song? Jazz singers, who often are female, are faced with this many times over, confronted with this problem of singing, you know, having literally somebody else's words put in your mouth and having to figure out what this means and who am I to this and what is it to me. Maybe that is something that some people are just more naturally in tune with or whatever. Yeah. How do you approach taking on a song? I mean, do you consider what you're saying and what it means and what the story is, and do you feel the story when you're singing it?
Yes, 100%. I think that's the thing that makes me good at what I do, and that's the thing that I have confidence in, is like, I can tell a story through a song, and I can emotionally connect with someone through being so emotionally in tune with the story I'm telling. The lyrics are everything to me. I mean, I approach every song as an actor still. And in terms of choosing which songs to sing, I don't think I do choose them. It sounds a bit corny to say like the songs choose me, you know, but really, I will just be listening to a record and like one song I just click repeat on, and I get so obsessive with songs and end up just listening to only that song for weeks or like a month at a time. And usually those are the songs that end up getting onto my records or getting into a video of some kind of social media. For some reason, some of them just click. And the lyrics to a lot of these songs are, I don't want to say vague because they can be so specific, of course, but because I didn't write them, I think they could be about so many different things. Like Over the Rainbow, for example, I sing that about like a different thing every time I sing it. It means it has like 100 different stories inside of it, if that makes sense. So I will say the humility thing and the self-doubt thing is very real for me, but that is the one thing where, you know, and I see a lot of other young jazz singers my age or younger, and I do understand that is something that sets me apart, because they aren't trying to act the song. They're singing a beautiful song and singing it, creating all these beautiful melodies and improvisations. But I think that it's easier for an audience to connect with, and it sometimes maybe feels better to connect with like an emotion inside of the song, which I think is something like the Sonny Rollins quote we were talking about. Yeah.
It's a long time, this conversation. Are singers, are they the same as musicians? Are they their own kind of class of people, whatever? Through these interviews, I have had conversations with a number of singers who have made me feel that it is different. Yeah. Musicians are mediating their experience through a different tool. Yours is your body. And, you know, so it is a different relationship with the audience. Yeah. Also, the singers that I talk to musicians live incredible lives, but singers tend to carry a lot of emotion from their life into the work that they do in ways that instrumental, whatever, piano players, saxophone players, guitar players, but I don't hear them saying like, I carry this in my body. I need to embody this song or this emotion in order to then convey it or transmit it.
Absolutely. I think there are musicians I see who play with a lot of emotionality, but I think exactly what you said. It's a different thing when it's your body is. Yeah. I feel. I always cringe at like your body is your instrument thing. I hate to say that, but I think it is objectively true.
There isn't another
There's
thing.
no other way to say it. I just feel like it's like when actors, it's always bothered me when actors say like the work, like stop, you know, it's the same thing with like, my body is my instrument. Like, all right, but your body is your instrument.
But and what I'm talking about also is that your life experience becomes a big part of the, I was about to say the work, the preparation that you're doing.
You can say the work, you're not an actor.
But it becomes a big part of what you're doing. It's like either living it or imagining that you've lived it.
Oh, I mean, completely. I've always had a very active imagination. And so I've been able to imagine scenarios for songs that I don't necessarily relate to, or, you know, before I was ever really in love, I could sing a love song and imagine that. But I think that's the great thing about being a singer, is that as you live life, you can be better, not just by practicing singing, like by living a life. My acting teacher in college, Cindy Gold, wonderful woman, she would always say, like, guys, quit like going over your lines and quit reading all these books about how to be a better actor. Like, go kiss somebody, like go to a museum, like go read a book. Like you are not going to be an interesting actor, an interesting artist, if you're not an interesting and intelligent person. And I think that's completely true. And for years, actually, I still struggle with this, like putting everything, having no life at all, and just being like thinking about singing and social media and songs and
TikTok,
touring.
exactly.
Yeah, but in the last like year, last year and a half, you know, I've actually sort of like gotten a life, which has been really helpful and definitely made me a better singer and a much happier person too.
Have you experienced that? Having imagined what it would be like to be in love or to be scared, to be sad, to be any of the things that you've sung about in your life, and imagined it for so long that when you actually lived through those things, were the experiences affected by what your expectation or imagination of what they would be like was?
That's a great question. I think, with love songs particularly, I think like I had a lot of overly romanticizing, like, you know, just failed relationships or very short, or things that weren't even relationships, you know, because I just was such a hopeless romantic from singing all of these songs. But I am now in love, and I think having found a love that feels very profound and deep, and it kind of feels like the songs, you know, and that's been... I always use the word magical, and then I'm like, stop it. That's the name of the album. It's so corny.
Well, it's a good time. If you're going to use it, this is the time to use it.
It's naturally like in my lexicon all the time. Yeah. But it is an amazing feeling, and it also deepens like every song that I sing to have had that experience. Yes. And the same thing with experiences of grief or experiences of heartbreak or any of it. It all helps the singing for sure. Yeah.
Well, Stella Cole, thank you for sharing a little magic with me today.
Of course.
What a pleasure to talk to you, really.
Yeah, this was amazing. Yeah. This was like one of my favorite interviews of all time. This is so cool.
Good luck with the record.
Thank you so much.
There she was, my friends, Stella Cole. What a charmer. I'll be back again in your headspace with another deep dive before you know it. Until then, I'll talk to you soon.
This has been a WBGO Studios production. To learn more about WBGO Studios' award-winning podcasts, special concerts, live streams, and more, visit wbgo.org/studios.